Well, hey there. Good morning, everyone. Glad to have you here for late morning with Josh Barnett at the IPAI's Facebook page. We apologize for starting a little bit late. We were having some technical difficulties getting our software to connect properly with Facebook, but hopefully we're past that now and we can move forward with the broadcast. We're very excited in a moment here to welcome special guest Amanda Padgitt to the show this morning. A couple things, just so you know, if you have any questions during this broadcast, go ahead and just comment on the video itself that you're watching, and we'll do our very best to get those questions answered as we're going through this. And anything that's left over, we'll be sure to address those at the end if they don't apply to the topic that we're talking about at that time. Just a couple notes. Next week, April 30th, we're going to have Adrienne Bailey from the Illinois Department of Revenue, and also joining us, and as well as Chad Geiser. Chad Geiser is with Integrity Technology Solutions, who is the IPAI's technology IT company. And Chad's going to be giving you tips and tricks from working from home and things that you need to know technology-wise to help you through this time if you're working at home while we're under this stay-at-home order. The week of May 7th, Thursday, May 7th at 11 a.m., we're going to have Chesney Leafblad. Chesney is the Warren Township Chief Deputy Assessor, and Chesney is going to be sharing with you tips that she and her office are using in order to effectively communicate with folks in your jurisdictions while the stay-at-home order is going on, and also some other great things that she's going to be able to share with us. So with that said, let's go ahead and bring Amanda into our conversation and have her join us today. Hello, Amanda.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm great. Good to see you finally this morning.
Yes, finally.
Technical difficulties, yeah.
Yeah.
So Amanda, just like a lot of folks across the state, you and I are both working at home. Of course, Amanda's our learning and development specialist with the IPAI. So Amanda, how is working from home going for you so far?
So I had to, within the first week, buy a new chair and take the monitors from the office home because working on just a laptop and a chair I bought off of Craigslist 10 years ago was not cutting it.
Fair enough.
So that was week one. So now that I've got my setup, it's much better. We luckily are able, we already had a VPN set up because we do travel for our conferences. So luckily, we had a lot of technology already in place. So the other difference is I have all of my fur babies around all the time, which is awesome.
Fur babies.
So I'll have a cat in my lap half the time. She stereotypically will walk across the screen. You might see her later. I don't know yet. And then we decided to foster a dog while we were at home. And then a week later decided to just adopt him. So we added to our fur family.
Wow, that's exciting.
Yeah.
Is any of your fur family, are they around? Can we see them, or do you have any photos to share?
I have photos.
Oh, okay. All right.
They're actually not in here. My husband has them corralled so they don't interrupt this precious time. But I've got pictures ready to share here. So let me pull up. I picked photos specifically of the dog we just adopted. So we've got some photos here. This is Jack. He's a Dachshund Beagle mix.
Oh boy. And this is the one you just adopted.
Yes, we just adopted him this week. So he's getting nice and comfortable at home. See, he's already become best friends with our other dog, Dax. So they're great. So he's been a joy to have here. So it's been nice to have that opportunity being at home to take in a dog, and then we just fell in love with him. So now he's a permanent part.
Oh, that's awesome. Very nice.
Yeah. I could share pictures all day, but we've got other important things to talk about, I know.
That's true.
I can post
so
them later
knows,
on Facebook if we really want.
Yeah, if anybody ever wants to, talk to Amanda about fur babies or dogs in general, she's definitely willing to do that, right?
Yeah, we've got 2 dogs and 2 cats, so I'm equal opportunity on the pets.
Okay, all right. Well, Amanda, thanks for taking the time to join us today. We're excited to have you here and share a little bit with us. For those of you who don't know, as I said before, Amanda is our learning and development specialist. So in that role, she works closely with our instructors who facilitate all of our in-person courses. Amanda also takes the lead on working with our course writers to write new courses and develop new curriculum and implement best practices for adult education and training. So some of the newer courses that you've seen come on in the last year or so, where the things have been a lot more interactive, and you've been able to do fun things like a mock board review hearing, things like that. Those are things that Amanda has brought to the table. So you're not just sitting there for 15 hours, you know, having someone lecture at you for over the life of a course. So we wanted to take a little bit of time and just sort of talk with Amanda a little bit about the current state of some of our courses with the IPAI, and also the work that is currently starting to try to move some of our courses online. We haven't really publicly broadcast this to anyone, but our plan was to take sort of 2020 and begin to put a couple courses in an online format and launch those with our 2021 course schedule at the end of this year. The current COVID-19 situation has caused us to push up those plans just a little bit sooner than what we originally planned to do. So, Amanda, can you share a little bit with folks? I mean, when you go to redesign this in-person course that's, you know, made to have folks, you know, sit there for 7.5 hours, you know, for 2 days in a row or for 1 day in a row, how do you take that and turn it into something that is an experience online that people don't hate, you know, they actually find relevant, you know, they get.
Yeah, that's a big one. We don't want you to hate us. When you come to a class in person, and you know, most of our classes are 2 days long, you know, you're in that classroom environment. You're away from your desks. You're away from your normal day-to-day life. So you are better equipped to focus for the day. When you're taking an online class, all those normal distractions are still present. And those distractions may even be heightened right now with all the restrictions in place. You might have your kids at home right now, or you've got, you know, trying to figure out how to balance your office right now in this. And there's, you know, or even beyond, you know, just general concerns of what's going on. So
I don't know if anyone else can hear it, but I can hear my son is banging on the floor above my head right now.
yeah, I mean, you might hear my dog bark later, and I have to go figure out why he's yelling at people on the trail not social distancing. I got to figure out, you know, so there's a lot of things that take away from your time when you're doing something online, and we have to account for that. And the last thing I want to do is place a webcam in front of our instructor for 8 hours and make you sit there and listen to a lecture for 8 straight hours for 2 days straight.
Yeah.
It's going to be hard to learn that way. And with everything we have going on, we want to make the learning as easy as possible, at least to bring that to you, so that way you have the best chance to succeed in the class. So we have to look at, you know, how do we break down our course into smaller chunks so that, you know, we can manage the shorter attention spans. And so we got to figure out, you know, for every course we might put online. Well, the first question is, which courses do we even choose?
Yes.
So some of our courses are better candidates than others. For our qualifying classes, you've got the 4 classes you have to take. But for our continuing education, we have a bit more leeway on determining, you know, which courses might be best candidates. So question number 1 is, which classes do we even offer? And then we got to figure out for each of those courses, how do we divide things up? How much needs to be done in a virtual classroom, face-to-face, not virtually face-to-face with an instructor, versus how much you could maybe, you know, do on your own, like maybe read a chapter and then come together for a Q&A, you know, determine if that's something that would be appropriate. How do we manage small group and class discussions? As probably most of you know, you learn a lot from your classmates, and that's been a huge part of the experience and a huge part of what we've tried to cultivate in the past couple of years with us on board, is utilizing your fellow students. Some of you have been in the field for, you know, a long time and bring a lot to the table, and so we want to still be able to have that in our classes, to have that opportunity to learn from each other, along with learning from the course material and learning from your instructor. So how do we go about that?
Yeah.
How do we keep you engaged so that you're not falling asleep or checking your email while you know, we're doing the class? You know, so we got to figure out those tactics. And yeah, each of those have to be figured out for every online course that we do. So it takes time to determine that. But we have started getting answers to questions. Josh and I have spent the past week reaching out to folks that are in university settings that have just had to recently transition over and learn, you know, what went well, what didn't go well, you know, what technology issues did you come up with? You know, we've been reading up on best practices. I've been working on setting up an internship program to bring on other learning professionals, because I think we would value greatly from having other brains on this project. So
For those of
we've
you
been working.
who don't know, Amanda got one of her masters at Boise State, home of the Smurf turf.
Yes,
You know,
yes.
in the blue football field.
I got to walk on it for graduation. It was
Yeah,
great.
yeah, there you go. It's the only blue football field, I think, in the NCAA. So, yeah, so it's great that you're able to reach out to folks there
Yeah,
and possibly bring some of those people on board to be able to
yeah.
assist us with this.
Yeah, and that's an online program, so they're used to working in a virtual environment. And there's a lot of students that in this program, they have experience. They're enrolled in this master's program just to kind of get the education to go along with their experience. So I would love to just get a few of their brains on this, just to see, what what's the best thing for us to do, and maybe help us get it a little bit quicker, having some more people helping us out. So we've started that process too. So we are having these discussions. We've talked with our education committee as well and gotten their input of things we want to consider. So we have started those discussions, and we are moving forward. Just also keep in mind, I am a learning and development department of one.
Right.
So, schools were able to get stuff online very quickly, but they also have way more staff and technology at their disposal, and it's also had mixed results. I'm sure
Right.
you've all heard, um, people in your life, some of it has gone well, some of the transition has gone well, and then some classes have completely fallen apart. And we want to avoid the completely fallen apart side here. So.
Yeah, and that's part of the reason, right, where we've reached out to some university professors that we know and had those conversations to say, what went well, what didn't go well, if you had to start this over again and it wasn't like a crash course, like what would you have done differently? So we want to avoid some of those pitfalls and try to take the
Yeah.
best part of their experience and implement it for our students.
Yeah, and again, we know it's not going to be perfect, especially given the circumstances, and given that we were hoping to take more time to do this before the stay-in-place orders have been announced, and all of the pandemic issues have come up. But we still want to do the best that we can in a timely manner, and also we fortunately weren't in the middle of a semester. Our classes
Right.
are shorter, so we fortunately didn't have the time constraints that the universities and the K through 12 schools had to finish out a semester. We had a little bit of time to, one, figure out what situation we are, as that keeps changing, and
Yes.
two, figure out what steps do we need to take, and that, in what we just talked about are just some of those things we have to consider.
Yeah. I want to remind people, if you have questions as we're going through this, to go ahead and comment on the video. This being broadcast on Facebook, and we're happy to answer those for you.
Yeah.
Amanda, can you talk a little bit about, the technology itself and what is involved in the technology side of implementing an online class? It's not just, turning a webcam on like somebody talking. There's a lot that goes into that.
Yeah, so we first have to determine which video conferencing platform to use. Most of you probably at this point have heard of Zoom, as that's the one that's been very popular with schools. And this is probably the first time. I was familiar with Zoom, but it seemed like it went from, just one of a mix of platforms to something everybody now knows and uses in the past month. So that is one platform we are considering, that we got to figure out.
You can
Sorry.
use Zoom for more than online happy hours and connecting with family across the country.
Yes, I know I've used it for plenty of game nights,
Yeah.
but yes, it could be used for education as well. Thank you for bringing that up.
Right.
So you got to figure out like which video conferencing platform to go with. And then the other part is connecting that with our student portal. So we fortunately had the student portal that we just transitioned to in December already in place, which actually that was probably step one. I think I jumped ahead of myself here, because the student portal will then communicate with the video conferencing platform to determine, if you're registered for the course, how do you access it and be able to log in seamlessly, being able to track if you're attending the class, and, being able just to communicate back and forth with, especially if the course has more pieces to it than just the video conferencing, being able to host it all together in one spot in the student portal. So there's some technology that, has to be programmed by our, the platform we use for the student portal, and then the video conferencing platform, some of the back end stuff, they have to communicate to each other, which we learned this week it might be easier than what we initially thought.
Yeah, that was exciting.
Yeah, but we don't want to get our hopes up too high. I mean, we clearly had technology issues today.
Yeah.
So, anything could happen. So, but yes, there's a lot of back end stuff there. And then once we've decided all the technology, it's getting everyone up to speed on it. So,
Right.
our instructors haven't taught with this before. You probably haven't taken a class, at least you haven't taken a class with us on this platform before. We want to make sure, the onboarding for that is successful so that, when you're ready to learn, the instructor is focused on teaching, the student is focused on learning, and the technology issues have already been ironed out. So we have to figure out that plan. So, and then also, if we decide to do videos, then time has to go into making, videos, if we decide to do pre-recorded lectures or anything that you can view at your own time, especially once we start considering like bandwidth issues, as I'm sure, some of our students might not have as high speed of internet access. So videos are a whole nother story, and trying to get those produced, those take time as well.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of technology pieces, and that's why developing an online course could take longer than developing an in-person course, because not only do you have the course content you have to worry about, you have to mix it in with the technology too, which could take a while.
Because it takes us, when we develop a new in-person course, like we have been doing for the past few years. I mean, how much time does that take from when that course starts and someone says, or we say, hey, I have an idea for this course. I mean, how long does that take to when like students are actually sitting in the classroom and taking that in for the first time?
Yeah, I mean, it varies. It depends on, how much time everybody has involved, that is involved. Realizing that I'm the only person whose full-time job is working on these courses. Our course developers, have full-time jobs in the assessment industry. Anyone that is reviewing that course has a full-time job as well. So we have to, a lot of our timelines take that into account, that the people that I'm working with have other commitments. And a lot of the course developers I have are not only their full-time job, but they're highly involved in committees and other aspects of the assessment field, as they're the one, a lot of them are the ones that are highly involved in all facets of this industry. So
it's great
so
if you do have those subject matter experts who
yeah,
do this day in and day out and have the real world experience to help
yeah.
bring that into the classroom. But that does mean we have to budget more time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. So typically we work a chapter at a time, where I'll get a first draft from the course developer. I'll read through it, have, some discussions there about clarity, how we could, add in, discussion questions or activities. We have, all of our courses are now peer reviewed. So we have a team of 3 assessment professionals that we have identified at the beginning of the course development stage, that then go and read through the courses and determine, what needs more clarity, what might be inaccurate, what could be added to the course, or what should be taken out. So they review it with their expert opinion, because we want to make sure everything that we present is factual. So that's important. So that takes time. And then there's some back and forth, once we get that feedback, to finalize, the draft. Sometimes, that goes back and forth a few times sometimes to determine, what we need to fix on that. And then once we're in a good place with that for every chapter, then, I had to put the book together and format the book, which I fight with Microsoft Word on that all the time. Hopefully we can move away from that at some point.
Yes.
And then we have to make the PowerPoint. And I've been working hard on trying to make our PowerPoints more visual, so that it, instead of regurgitating what's in the book, it provides another way to process the information and learn. So that takes some time as well.
Yeah.
Our PowerPoints have a few hundred slides in them, so they're big PowerPoints.
Right.
And so you have to, putting all of that together. And then if it's an exam course, writing exam questions that accurately test whether or not students have learned what our learning objectives are of the course takes a lot of time.
Yeah.
So that it's so much harder to write an exam question than I ever thought it would be before I got into this field. It is hard, especially to make it so that we're truly testing your knowledge, as opposed to trying to trick you or trying to test on, make a question too hard or too easy or that kind of thing. To write a really quality exam question takes a lot of time.
Yeah, for sure. So while we're going through the process of moving some of our courses online and determining which ones we're going to do, and we're working on all that, we have, if folks want to get a jump start on their education for 2020 while we're under the stay-at-home order, we have put home studies up in the student portal. This week we uploaded several home studies, and we have a couple more coming
Yeah.
pretty soon.
Yeah, we're working to get a couple of new ones on there. The ones that have been posted are ones that have been offered in previous years, but 2 of them are electives for the qualifying series.
Yeah.
So you can complete both of your elective requirements through IPAI home studies. So please be aware of that. Practical math and residential drawings, fieldwork, and photographs, which was recently added as an elective option, is also available for home studies. So those are available to purchase now. We're not scheduling any exams until after the stay-at-home order has been lifted, but you can start reading through the materials and preparing for those exams right now.
Yeah, yeah. So if you were planning to take, let's a qualifying series and knock all 4 of your courses out later on this year, right now you could get your 2 electives done, or at least get them done, except for the testing portion of it, before you even start the 4 core courses.
Yeah. Yeah, and we're looking at adding, for continuing education, we're looking at adding a few additional home studies that we haven't offered previously. One of the ones that we're working on is offering RATDs from township to the state as a home study.
Sheets.
Yep.
Yes.
So we're just finalizing a couple of things on that, but that's one that we're planning to do. And there's a couple others that I'm still in the works. I still need to reach out to the original course developers on there to see. We want to make sure whichever courses we choose for home studies, the books are thorough enough that having just that book and the exercises in that book will prepare you. Some of our books have more info than others, so we want to make sure that the ones that become home studies have what you need to be successful.
Yeah, it's very important. Going back to course development, we have a couple new courses and a reformatted course that are going to be rolling out later in 2020. You've been very busy working on some of these new courses and reformatting.
Yes.
So what do we have coming up this year?
Yeah. So we had 2 courses that we were going to launch at the spring conference, 2 brand new ones. One of them was partial interest in taxable leaseholds. Mark Armstrong is the course developer on that course. So the course, I'm going to try my best to explain it. I'm not a property assessment expert. We probably should have asked him about this last week while we had him, but I'm sure he'd be happy to clarify anything if you have any questions that I'm not able to answer on that. But the course has 2 different topics. Partial interest, it discusses how to value properties where some, but not all of the property rights were transferred in a real estate transaction. So it goes into different types of public easements and private restrictions that might limit some of those property rights that an owner has. So it goes through how do you address that. And then the other half of the course, taxable leasehold. So that's when a property that has previously been exempt from taxation is then leased to a private party that wouldn't be exempt from taxation. So it's how do you value that? And so the course, Mark has done a really good job at bringing in relevant statutes, bringing in Illinois Supreme Court cases that guide how you would value these properties, and deep diving into what that means for you and your job. And then there's a lot of examples and sample case studies and exercises to work through so you practice valuing some of these properties. And you can take that information and go back to your jurisdiction. And there's also a couple sections at the end go through how would you defend your assessments if they go to board of review or PTAB or beyond. And then how do you avoid common mistakes? So he goes through some of the biggest things he's noticed over the years in assessment offices in regards to these 2 topics, and what mistakes to avoid, what those mistakes are, and what should you do to avoid those. So it really goes into that detail as well. So we're really excited. It had a lot of interest this year. I think almost all the sections filled up before we had to start postponing things. And so that's a course we are excited to bring to you, because it sounds like that's something that you all are looking forward to. So that was one course we were going to offer. The other one was going to be a new course for continuing education, but was the easiest course for me to ever write because we'd already written it for the qualified series.
That's
so
right.
That was great. So we added an ethics course to the qualifying series in 2018, and we it went through a couple revisions in that period, but we got it to a good place now, and we had a lot of requests for people that had earned their CIAO before 2018 that still wanted to take the qualifying class, or the qualifying ethics class. They thought,
Right.
you know, we haven't had a class that did a deep dive into ethics. We really would like to learn more about this and be able to engage in this topic, and how do we make better ethical decisions in our offices. So along with our new code of ethics that we put together this past fall, that we launched at the beginning of the year, we thought this was a perfect opportunity to bring the ethics course to continuing education.
Yes.
So the course is very similar to the qualifying one. There's no exam for the continuing education one. The reason for that is we really want the class to have the latitude to explore the ethical topics the students in that specific class want to explore. We don't want to limit it to specifically what would be exam questions, but given that the students in the continuing education version have way more experience to bring to the table than some, you know, more of the newbies in the qualifying course, we want to allow you to share your perspectives, allow you to talk through issues that you've encountered, and kind of get, you know, different perspectives. One of the things in both courses is you explore how you approach ethical situations. You learn about what your own ethical compass is, and it's a fun class. There's a lot of interaction. There's a lot of, you know, just fun discussions. There's, you know, you learn about yourself, you learn about others. I like to call it, you know, it is a fun class, and we were still excited to bring that one to you someday.
Yeah, and one of the things I was so excited about when with the ethics course for that's part of the CIO qualifying series is that we had clips in there from The Office, and those have moved over to the CE version, right? The continuing education.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So.
Oh yeah, you get to watch Michael Scott doing ethically questionable things. Absolutely. Yes.
Anytime you can work in clips of Michael Scott into an ethics course, it's going to be a winner. Still trying to figure out how to bring Parks and Rec in there, because I think that would be great too. Right. Yes. Absolutely. So those are two of the new courses that we were planning to offer and still plan to offer this year. And one other course I wanted to highlight here, assessment of oil and coal. It's not a new course. Very exciting though. Yeah, it's not new, but it's been a while since we've offered it, and it's been a while since it's been updated. So I've been working with Mark Becker to update the materials. Mark's a rock star on this, this topic for those who don't know him. Yeah, no, he's been great to work with. So some of the things we're working on, one is updating values. Those change every year. So updating anything procedural and numerical that needed to be updated. But another thing that we are working on is trying to add in flowcharts and process lists and adding more clarity to the evaluation process of oil and coal. I have learned a lot in this, you know, developing this course, and learned that there are a lot of exceptions to, if this situation happens, then you have to do this calculation instead. And, you know, there's a lot of what ifs, and flowcharts work really well for that. So we're really trying to work on making that more clear for you. So that way, you know, if you have these property types in your jurisdiction, you can be better able to assess those, because there's a lot of math in that. I'm glad I kind of like math. Yeah. That has helped me a lot in this job. So, but yes, there's a lot of it, but we're working to make it manageable and streamlined and easy for you to do. Yeah, that's great. Yeah. Well, Amanda, other than, you know, sort of some of these new classes that we have going out this year and our other existing courses were in place, what other resources are we providing for folks at this time? Sure. So we want to continue to do more of these late morning things. Yes. Josh is a great host here. So one of the things, so we have 2 surveys that are out right now. You should have received an email for those. We could probably post the link in, you know, the comments section or on our Facebook page to remind you as well. So we have 2 surveys out. One of them is for CIAOs, and the other one is for those in the qualifying series. And they're asking a variety of questions about the current situation and how we can best help you during this current situation. And on on those surveys, we're getting a lot of good feedback on what topics you're interested in, especially given the current constraints that you might have in your office. So we're looking through those and determining which ones might also make good topics for shorter, you know, Facebook Live chats. So we have
one that we're hoping to lock in that we are working on with Chesney Leafblad to talk about email templates. A lot of offices we've been hearing have been emailing their constituents more often right now, given that they might not physically be in their office. So figuring out what the best practices are in emailing, about topics you might email over and over again, so that way you're giving consistent messaging. And she has a good template system that she uses that, one, she'll be able to talk about, and two, we could provide some of those as downloads for you so that you can adapt them for your office. So that's one topic that our education committee had discussed and that we had gotten feedback on that's in the works, but we'll be combing through that data. The surveys are still open. I think we got a couple hundred responses on them already, which is awesome.
Great.
Thank you. But we're combing through those responses. We take those seriously. We really want to know what it is that we can do to help. So we'll be combing through those, and if there's other topics that seem like they'd be a better fit for a shorter a shorter class or a shorter, conversation, if that's, or even just resources that you could download or access on our website, we're looking through to see what those are that we can do to help.
Yeah. And we want to be sure that, we as an organization are still providing you in some fashion tools and tips and resources that are helpful to you and the work of your office, even while we're all in this current stay-at-home order situation that we're all experiencing.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's great, Amanda. If I could, I just want to take a couple minutes and update everyone sort of where we're at with some of our conferences and workshops here. Of course, we had to delay the spring conference and a few other workshops. I just kind of want to run down, give everyone an update of where we're at with all of those things. The normal qualifying series, which was originally scheduled for April, that has been moved to September. So that's going to be taking place throughout the month of September. And all that is on the website. It's inside the student portal. You can go and sign up for that course, some of those courses if you haven't yet already. If you were already registered for the normal qualifying series, those registrations have automatically been transferred to the new dates during September. The McLean County Workshop, which is a one-day course where we teach you how to do sales ratio studies using Excel. That one-day course has been moved to October. The LaSalle County Workshop, which is a two-day course, it was a residential quality, condition, and effective age. That was scheduled in April. That has been moved to October as well. And just like the normal qualifying series, if you were in those two workshops, your registration has automatically been transferred to the October dates. If those new dates don't work for you for some reason, go ahead and contact the registrar, and we can either get you into other course offerings that do work with your schedule. A few other updates. The Lake County Workshop is still postponed. We don't have an announcement for that yet, but we are continuing to work and engage in conversation on that. Our spring conference has been tentatively scheduled for this summer, but we haven't announced those dates yet. The venue where the spring conference is scheduled, the Marriott in Uptown Normal in the center of the state here, they are currently not signing any contracts during the stay-at-home order. Is the way that they're managing things that works best for them. So because of that, the spring conference has been penciled in, but we don't technically have a contract signed with the venue. So until we can do that, we're holding off releasing those new dates for the spring conference, but it has been tentatively rescheduled for this summer. And all the things that take place at the spring conference, the luncheons, the special gatherings, those will all still happen as normal. The last thing I just want to share with you, the Chicago qualifying series, which was scheduled to start the last week in May and go through June, that has now been pushed out to mid-July through mid-August. And those new dates will be updated on the website and in the student portal yet this afternoon or tomorrow morning. Again, if you're registered currently for the Chicago qualifying series, those registrations are going to automatically be transferred to the new dates when they're locked in the system. With the current COVID-19 situation that's going on, we wanted to make sure that those courses were being held at a time that worked best for the venues where we're holding them, as well for our students. A couple quick things that I will note about our two qualifying series, both the normal qualifying series that again has been rescheduled for September, and the Chicago qualifying series that has been rescheduled for mid-July through mid-August. If you're going through the qualifying series, to get your designation, your CIO designation, in order to run for township assessor or to be appointed sometime next year to a position of assessor or contract, whatever the case may be. You will, specifically for those who are running for election, you will finish all the courses in time for you to be able to receive that certificate of qualification from the Department of Revenue in order to file your nominating papers in November. So you will receive, you will get done in time to request that certificate from the Department of Revenue to file with your nominating papers. There should be no issue with that at all. As I said earlier, Adrienne Bailey from the Illinois Department of Revenue is going to be with us here next Thursday at 11 o'clock and on late morning, and Adrienne is going to be talking about some of those requirements with township assessors specifically who are going to file for election next year and working through some of those requirements. So I just wanted to be sure to highlight that to all of you. The links to the surveys that Amanda had mentioned, they now are in the comments section of this video. So feel free to go there and check those surveys out. We encourage you to complete those again. Last week's episode of Late Morning, which featured Mark Armstrong, it's on Facebook, but it's also on our website and on our YouTube channel. So you can always go and check out that episode there. This episode will also be archived on the website and on our YouTube channel. A couple more quick things. Joining Adrienne Bailey next week is going to be Chad Geiser from Integrity Technology Solutions. Integrity Technology Solutions is the IPAI's IT provider, and Chad's going to be talking about best practices from a technology standpoint for working from home and how you can best utilize technology while you're working from home. May 7th, the Thursday after that, Thursday, May 7th, Chesney Leafblad, as Amanda had mentioned, is going to be with us. Chesney is the Chief Deputy Assessor of Warren Township in Lake County, and Chesney is going to be sharing email templates and other tools of the trade that you can use for contacting consistently and clearly with your constituents during the stay-at-home order time. So with that said, Amanda, hey, thanks again so much for coming out today and joining us. Yeah, it's been a pleasure to have you here. Enjoy your new fur baby.
Thank you.
Yeah, and appreciate you taking the time again to be here with us today. So,
Of course.
all of you out there watching, hope you're staying safe and staying healthy, and we hope to be able to connect with you again very soon in person. So, but until then, we'll see you next Thursday at 11 a.m. All right. So, everyone have a great day.